Hello guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to use Apache Cordova to create an iOS or Android app from your Angular code base. As a matter of fact, you could use any JavaScript or HTML framework like React.js or plain HTML and JavaScript code using Bootstrap or Angular is going to work for all. Um, Using this Cordova, you can easily create an Android version or an iOS version of your app. So in this tutorial, I'm going to walk you through step by step. So let's get started. So first thing, I already created GitHub repository, and I'm going to include link to this GitHub repository in description of this video. In this repository, what I have done, I have whatever I'm going to do today, I have listed all the installation instruction into this GitHub repository. So, uh, so the first step before you start, you have to figure out what your requirements are. So suppose you are trying to build a mobile app for iOS and Android and for Windows, then you have to be using the right machines. So if you want to develop for iOS, Mac OS is a must-have, and you need to have a latest Xcode version installed on your machine. For in this video, I want to create an app for Android, and I will be listing it to the Google Play Store. So all I need is Android Studio in my machine. So if you don't already have Android Studio, just follow this link developer.android.com/studio, and then you can download a copy of the Android Studio here. Okay. That's one thing you need. Second thing you need is Gradle, and I will cover that later part of the video. But for now, let's go with the Android Studio. And before you start, I just want to quickly show you how to make sure that your Android Studio is the most current. So when you double click on the Android Studio, next thing you have to do is configure your SDK manager and just glance through it. So note down this path. This is the path your Android SDK is installed. So just make a mental note of it here. Second thing, I want to quickly check here that okay, what API level I want to develop it for, and what API level I already have. So for example, in this video I'm using this API level 26, this already installed, and then I want to go to the SDK tools and make sure that I have a matching Android SDK tools to that API level. So in this case it looks good to me. A couple of other things, make sure that your emulator accelerator is checked on. That will help you in later when you want to run your Android emulator. Make sure Android emulator is installed, and then this is the SDK apps update side. So all you need to do, click OK, is going to install all the missing packages and everything. So basically that's pretty much it. All you need to do is verify all these settings and make a mental note where your SDK is installed. So I already have this one. I'm going to skip this part. Next part is you need Gradle, but I'm going to cover this later. Okay. So next part is let's just jump right into the code. So in your I'm going to open it. You can open in different terminal window, but I'm going to use VS Code. And as you can see, I have a list of apps here. In this case, first thing I want to do is Cordova-v. So what this is going to tell you that what kind of Cordova version you already have installed. So in case if you are doing a fresh installation, I expect to return back with an error saying okay, you do not have any Cordova installed. So in that case, all you need to do is npm install -g Cordova. And if you are on a Mac machine, please do not forget to include sudo. So all you need to do npm install -g Cordova, and it's going to come back here. I have a latest version 8.00 is installed, but in case if you see something like 7.1.0, you can run the same command, and you have to update. I highly recommend you updating your Cordova app. Okay. So next thing is let's go ahead and create a new project. Okay. So as you can see, I'm going to create Cordova create mngic. That's my client name. In my case, I'm pretty sure because I already have an mngic directory, it will come back with an error. So just to save you some time, I'm going to rename it as mngic2. And second thing, you want to pause com.ilishconsulting.mngic and -mngic. If you want to know what these things are, you can always go back to their documentation. I have included a short description. Actually, it's an app name, and then com.domain.project and then app name. So basically that's pretty much it. So as you can see, creating a new project is very quick. It's just created a new project, and if you browse through it, you will simply see a package.json file, you will see config.xml, www directory and rest directory and platforms. I'll be walking you through most of this directory, what's inside then and how to manipulate that. But let's quickly head to this one, head to the next step. Next thing is you have to get inside this directory. So in my case, I'm going to go inside this directory, and then you have to add couple of platforms. So in this case, I just want iOS and I just want to register my app for a browser on Android. So I'm going to install these two platforms here. So all you need to do is Cordova platform add browser. And if you notice here, right now my platforms directory is blank. So once this command is finished, you will see something here inside this one. Okay. So I'll give it some time. And once this is done, I want to add another platform for Android. Okay. And same thing, if you're developing for iOS, you have to just add this platform again, a platform for iOS again. So I'm going to pause my recording and I will resume. Okay guys, so I just finished installing both of this platform, Android and browser. So as you can see, it created two different directory here. And if I go inside my config.xml, you will see some entries for your platform name, iOS and Android. I will come back to this in a minute. But for now, let's directly just head to the next step. Next thing you have to make sure that two of the environment variables like Java home and Android homes are set up properly. So if you're on a Windows machine, you have to go to your Windows environment variables and just look into their path, Java home and Android home. In your Mac OS, I quickly want to check, say, which Java, so it will tell me that this is where my Java is installed. Next thing, I just want to check Java-version, so that will tell me what Java version I have installed. I think the current requirement is you have the JDK 8. That also looks good here. And in case if you are having trouble, make sure you do not skip this step. Okay, make sure that you always check your Java home, what kind of JDK you have installed. Next thing I want to check ecode Java home. See, I do not have my Java home set up properly, and I want to check my Android home as well. Okay, and this is missing either. So if in this case, if I go ahead with my installation, I'm pretty sure that is going to fail. So first thing is I want to set up my Java home. Okay, and then I want to set up my Android home. Okay, and make sure that this matches with the path you have. And now once you have exported the path, let's quickly verify that you have you echo to these two variable and make sure that they are returning some values here. Okay, so now my Java home and Android home, they both look okay. One more thing I want to do, you have to export the path and make sure that you include these two here. Actually what these are, you are telling your environment path to include the SDK tools and SDK platform tools. Okay. Next thing is I want to make sure one more time that my path is all of these things look okay to me or not. So echo $path and make sure that you see something like library, Android, SDK platform tools and SDK tools. Okay. So as long as your paths are good, next thing is again guys, do not miss these steps, otherwise you will have problem later on. Next thing is let's install Gradle. So if you go to the Cordova installation instruction, they are saying for Android development you have to have Gradle for, if you are using Cordova 8, and then you can see when you need to have Gradle. Okay, otherwise it's not going to build that. Okay, so quickly, it's Gradle is a build tool. Again, I'm not going to spend any more time on the Gradle. I just quickly show you how to install Gradle. Okay, all you need to do, hit out this command. Okay, so it will grab a copy of the brew and brew is again, and then sorry, it will get a copy of the homebrew, and once you have homebrew installed, you have to do install brew and then brew install gradle. So I already have a gradle, but if you not, I just quickly want to check that I have the gradle or not. So gradle -v, and it should come back saying okay, see that that's saying Java home is set to an invalid directory. So I need to fix my Java home, and I think guys, it's a very good idea to check all of your variables on a time-to-time basis. Okay. Okay guys, so far everything looks good to me. Now the next step. Next step is I have to go update this config.xml. So I have, just for the reference, I have included a copy of the config.xml with my GitHub repository. So just in case if you want to, otherwise it's very simple. Okay, I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm going to change here. And I highly recommend you please change these things too. Okay, so for example, this com.ilist consulting. So by default, when you create a new Cordova project, is going to look like co.cordova or something. So here, as you can see, a small Apache Cordova application. Make sure that you give it a proper description which matches with your app, and then like for example, right now author, definitely you want to change this to, and give your email ID and href, and then you have to change this to because you are the author, you don't want to mention their name. Okay. One last thing I want you to change here, two last things, sorry. One is the icon. So please do not forget to change this icon. Otherwise, when you register your app, your app will look like this. It will have this icon. So make sure you change this, and later on I'll include my icons to this directory. And the second thing I want you to change this platform in all of this. I want you to include all of the Android icons, and then you have to prepare all your icons and copy it over. So let's quickly do that. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy this entire config.xml, and I'm going to replace this here. Next thing I want to do here, as you can see, I have a copy of all the icons. So let's go to the res icon, Android, and I have to replace all of these icons. Okay, so I already have a copy. Okay, as you can see, I have all of these icons here. I'm going to copy this over, and then go back to my app, res icon Android, and replace this here. Perfect. Okay, now while I'm here, so for example, you have an Angular app and you already did an Angular ng build prod. Okay, so all my HTML and JavaScript files, for example, so I have the copy of all my JavaScript and HTML files. These are all the files. So I'm going to copy this over. Okay, and I will go back to my app www, and I'm going to replace all these files here. Okay, that's it. So let's go back to my GitHub repository. I think so far everything looks good. I have added all the platforms, all the variables are set. Now I just time to see how my app looks like. So I'm going to do the Cordova run browser. So that means, like, it will start a copy of my my app, and let's see how it looks like into the browser. So let's go back to the terminal window. Okay, Cordova run browser. Okay guys, so I'm running the Cordova run browser here. Even though you are developing for your Android, is always a good idea to check your app on browser. So as you can see, it's serving your app on localhost 8000. Let's quickly go back to Safari, and you can see this is what my app looks like. This is exactly I would expect my app to look like. I just want to quickly browse through everything looks or not. So everything looks good now. Next step is, now let's try to build an Android app out of it. So I'm going to kill this session. Next thing, before I start doing that, I just want to quickly show you one command, very useful command. It's called Cordova requirements. So once you run this, it will tell you what exactly you have and what is you do not have. So as you can see, um, it detected a Android Studio project. Java SDK looks good, Android SDK looks good, Target not installed, and ABDSJ manager is not installed. So that means if I try to emulate my app, it's going to get into some trouble. But that's okay. Okay, so actually I need to fix it later on, but for this demo I think we are still good. We will be able to create an Android app without this properly installed here. Next thing is Gradle is installed, so that looks also good. And next is the requirement check results for the browser. So everything looks good now. Now next step is, now I want to do Cordova build Android. Okay, I'm going to shoot this command. So, but before I do that, I just want to quickly see, if I made all the changes or not. So as you can see, I installed the brew, config.xml looks okay. I replaced my favicon icon. I replaced all the icons, everything is good. So now if I run this Cordova build Android, this should create an unsigned app debug.apk, and it's going to produce that APK in this at this location. So I'm going to, and this takes time, so I'm going to hit this command, and I'll resume my recording once this. Okay guys, so I just did Cordova build Android, and as you can see, what was happening, I was running this command in my VS Code and I was getting that error because Java home was not defined properly. Actually, I just exported the new Java home, and then what I did, I ran the same command like Cordova build Android in a separate terminal window, and as you can see, build is successful. So the next step is, it will tell you where you can find your copy of your APK it has created, but let me quickly show you. So you go to the folder, and then you have to go inside the platform directory, Android, app, build, outputs, APK, debug, and as you can see, this is APK app.debug.apk file. Now, if you take this file, put it into any of the Android devices, is going to work. But this is not the file you want to submit to the Play Store. So Play Store aspect, there's one more step you have to do on top of this one. But I just want to quickly mention that a lot of times what happens when you're doing the development, you want to quickly test out your Android app. So there's another option. If you run Cordova run Android, it's going to open an emulator on your machine and you can see your app. But problem with the delivered Android emulator is very, very slow. So most of the time what I do, and it's always a different feeling when you take the real APK and you want to test it on a real device. I highly recommend you doing that. So take this file, put it in your Android device, and it should work. Okay. So now the next step is, you have to create a key tools file, keystore file. So let me just quickly run this command and tell you what it does. Okay. So before you run this command, everything is the same, but here you can see the my keystore file is going to look like, you have to give it a name, mngic, and the alias is mngic. That's the only thing you have to change. The rest of the things are same. So as you can see, it's asking for the password. You can, okay, you have to re-enter the password. This is the password you want, and please make sure that you remember the password. Then it's going to ask you what's your first name and last name. What is the name of your organization unit? What is the name of your organization? What is the name of the city? So what is the name of the state? US. Everything looks good. Yes. So once you've done this, as you can see, it will create the file mngac.keystore. Now if I go back to my Visual Studio Code, what you will see that keystore file. Unfortunately, you won't be able to open it from here. Let me show you why, because this is in binary file. But this is the file you will need if you want to publish your file. So now at this point, if I go back, and there are last two steps pending. If I run this command, Cordova run Android with release, or Cordova build Android with release, is going to produce a file which will have which you can use and submit it to the key store. So let me quickly do that. So this time I'm going to say Cordova build Android one more time. And this time it should be fairly very quick. Okay, as you can see, build is successful. Okay, now this time, because my keystore file is already generated, there's one more step, sorry, I forgot in between. Right here, I want you to create a file. It's called build.json. You can there's a command for that. You can use this command to build this file, but basically it's the same thing. I would recommend, if you can create this file manually, it doesn't make a difference. So I'm going to create this file. It's called build.json. Okay, and again, whatever you need to put this in this file, you can copy this from my GitHub repository, but basically it looks the same. Okay, let me just quickly walk you through this. Okay, this is more readable. Now this keystore file, first of all, you need to fix this part. This should match exactly with the keystore file you just created. So as you can see, my keystore file is right here. I don't need this, go to the parent directory, so I'm just going to say mngic.keystore. Store password, alias, mngic, and here, whatever password you put when you are generating the keystore file, you can put something, but I highly recommend you using the same password. So, and then you just copy it over the same thing to that to this release variable here. Basically, that's pretty much it you need. And the next step is, now if you go and say Cordova build Android, and if you put a release flag here, okay, it's going to create a different version of your app. So I'm just going to pause my recording here, and I'll come back once this is done. Okay guys, so as you can see, just now my Cordova build Android -- release command finished, and as you can see, I'll go back to my Finder window. You will immediately see another folder, release, and inside this release you will see app -release.apk. Now guys, this is the file. You can submit it to your Google Play. You can send it to a couple of your friends with your Android devices. You can download it to Android devices, and this will work 100%. Next thing is, all you need to have an account at play.google store, playstore.google, and if you have a developer account there, just go ahead and use this APK, upload it there, and it should work. So before I close out, one last thing I want to mention. Now suppose you made some changes to this app and your app is already live at Google Play Store. Next release, everything will be the same. The only thing is, do not forget to change this version. It should be different than the prior version, otherwise your Google Play Store is going to complain about the version, and is not going to accept your new APK file. Well, that's pretty much it. So if you have any question, please feel free to leave your comments here, and just if you have any issues, open an issue at my GitHub repository, and I'll be happy to help you out. That's pretty much it. In my future videos, I want to use a couple of other same frameworks like Cordova, Apache, like native script for Angular app, or Ionic has just introduced a new Ionic Capacitor framework to do this similar kind of work, which you can use to convert your app to an iOS, Android, Windows, or even a desktop application. So I'll be reviewing those as well in near future. Stay tuned. Thank you very much.